Hi, I'm Heather Bonnet, and this is my son Mason.
And Mason, how old are you?
8. Playing board games and drinking Coke and drinking coffee.
I heard you also ride bikes.
Yeah.
You like riding bikes?
Oh yeah. But I like drinking Coke's even better.
Mason was born, he was what we thought was a healthy little baby boy, but we soon found out otherwise. He started soon after birth. He started experiencing some feeding difficulties, and which sent us on a journey to see multiple doctors. And his symptoms continued to develop. Some of his symptoms progressed as time went on. We went to multiple hospitals throughout his first year and a half of life before we were able to finally get the final diagnosis. Mason was about a year and a half old when he was diagnosed with Hereditary Sensory Autonomic Neuropathy. And that, when he was diagnosed with that, it was a hard blow because, it was a tough diagnosis. But it was a long journey to get that diagnosis. And, with that diagnosis comes a lot of struggles that he has already experienced or that we know he will eventually experience. And so it was a tough diagnosis, but we decided, that we could either let his disease rule us or we could rule his disease. And so that's what we chose to do. We chose to rule his disease. And so that is, we continue to push Mason to strive to do better, to, get better, to be the best that he can be within his limitations. And, he's experienced multiple hospitalizations. He's had numerous surgeries. We do therapy on a daily basis. At home, we do therapy weekly at the kids' clinic. We always work and strive to stay one step ahead of his disease, because with his disease being progressive, we're constantly against that battle of time. So we have to stay one step ahead of it. With hereditary sensory autonomic neuropathy, Mason experiences a lot of symptoms on a daily basis. He has thermoregulation issues, which means that he cannot properly control his body temperature. So we have to always monitor his body temperature to make sure that he doesn't get too hot or doesn't get too cold, and then he experiences tachycardia, which is a fast heart rate. We have to especially monitor Mason when he's up and active, riding a bicycle, playing outside, jumping around, doing stuff that normal everyday children would do. We do have to monitor Mason very closely to make sure that his heart rate is within a normal range. He experiences high blood pressure, again with activity, so we have to monitor him. Mason doesn't always, he has a hard time processing pain, so we have to monitor every single little injury. Anytime he falls down, he gets a scrape, bruise, bump, whatever, we have to always do a head to toe body check to make sure that we didn't have a serious injury that required, further medical care. Mason is hypermetabolic, which means that his body just cannot absorb, he burns too many calories that his body can absorb. He could constantly eat and still never get enough calories that his body thinks that he has to have. So even though he eats orally, he does have a feeding tube, but we have to monitor his oral feeding on a daily basis. We have to monitor it constantly to make sure that he does not overeat, does not gorge himself, because he doesn't have that sensation of being full like you or I do. So he has to, we have to monitor him to make sure that he doesn't choke, because he will just eat, at a fast rate. And then in the evenings and at night, he's fed through his feeding tube. A normal day for Mason starts off, he typically gets up about 6 o'clock. His mornings are always extremely difficult because when he gets up, we have to maintain a very strict schedule with Mason. Just because of his medication requirements and all of that. When he gets up about 6 o'clock in the morning. We get up and unhook him from his feeding pump and start administering his medications. We give him a shower in the mornings, make sure that, his shower kind of helps stimulate him and wake him up a little bit. Mornings are extremely difficult for Mason. Because part of his disease is after he's fed and all of that, he has a lot of retching and vomiting. So every single morning we have to stand by and, care for him while he's having his vomiting episodes. Despite the medications and all of that, we can't, that's something that is outside of our control. So we have to, help him through that. And then after he's been up for about an hour and a half, then he's doing pretty good. His little body's gotten up and he's, he's awake a bit more and he's a little more stimulated. And so then it kind of starts his more normal, typical day. He'll go to school. He does try to go to school every day for a full day. But we always let Mason be the guide to that. If he's having a rough day and he's tired or he's getting too tired at school or he's hurting a lot that day, then of course his teacher is absolutely wonderful and she'll call and say, hey, I think he needs to come home early. And so we'll go and pick him up and, bring him home and monitor him and all of that. But, on a typical day, if he makes it to school all day, then we consider that a success. It was a successful day for sure. And then when he gets home, after school, he has to do his homework just like normal, kids do. But then we also have to incorporate, some rest times in there. And all of that because he does have to take frequent breaks throughout the day just because he does have lower endurance due to his disease. And so we'll have a little bit of a rest time. Normally we'll read a book or he'll sit down and we'll watch a TV show or just, play a quiet board game in the floor, something to just kind of help him unwind and just kind of stop. And then after we've had our little rest period, then we'll go outside and play. He loves riding his bike. That's his newfound freedom of riding his bike. So we go outside and ride his bike around the block or go outside and jump on the trampoline or swing or, whatever, just normal everyday childhood activities. And then we come in and Mason gets, we start his evening routine, which is pretty extensive. We start that typically about 6:30. We make sure that he has been fed dinner by 6:30. And then we start his evening routine of doing his shower. We put him in the shower between 6:30 and 7. And then after that, then it's time for therapy. And so we typically spend about 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes on his at-home therapy sessions. His at-home program that we do on a daily basis is just as important as his therapy that he does actually in the kids clinic because we have to do that therapy each and every day so he can maintain his muscle strength that he currently has. And so after that, then we start to, by that time it's typically about 8 o'clock, and so we lay down and watch a little TV show or read a book or something, just kind of help him unwind and relax for the day, and, for the end of the day, and spend a little bit of quality time together, before he goes to bed. And then we start his medications and we give his first round of medicines at 8:30. and then typically he's asleep shortly thereafter because one of those medications is used to help sedate Mason so he can rest peacefully at night. And so it doesn't take long to kick in and so for him to go to sleep. And so he's typically asleep usually, 8:30 to 9 o'clock at the latest. And then at 9, we give him another dose of medications, another round of medicine, and then we hook him up to his feeding pump and begin his nighttime continuous feeds, typically around 9:30. And then either my husband and I stay up, one of us, and then give him his next round of medication at 10 o'clock. And then we're done for the evening, and hopefully Mason rests peacefully all night, and we're able to as well, so. We use Kids Clinic for his pediatric therapy.
I like to ride my bike. I like to ride my bike. I like to ride my bike.
What else do you do?
Ride my bike.
Children's Miracle Network has meant the world because they have been there through us. They've helped him with especially attending Kids Clinic for the last 8.5 years. They've helped him grow and, reach those goals and overcome obstacles that we did not think that he would be able to, such as riding a bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
Children's Miracle Network, they help to fund so many wonderful programs. So, every dollar counts. They help to fund, the equipment that's needed for Kids Clinic. Kids Clinic, they use toys, they use bicycles to help with therapy. Mason learned to ride a bike, on the therapy bicycle that was donated by CNN. They, help to purchase the toys and equipment that we use in our, not only for physical therapy, but for speech therapy and occupational therapy as well. And not to mention the other programs that they help to fund in school medical facilities, the NICU, the Teen Moms program, and multiple other programs.